we've got mortise lock to go in. Okay, so we're going to run through the procedure of doing that. So like I say, this could be garden gate, could be internal door for your house. So we're going to show you how simple we can add that mortise lock into there. So we've got our lock, we want that. We're going to use a UJK jig. Alright, so this is going to do what we want. We've got formalic top, alloy guide, we've got everything to set up yet. So that bit. Then we need to do a couple of things on here. So these say how wide the lock is. So that's relating to the width there. Alright, we have two widths, so we have 16 and 19 mil. Then we also have the face plate, which relates to the width of the top of the lock here, so the cover plate. So there are different settings for those, so we've got to get those right. Alright, so got all that, got things ready, so we're going to set the jig up on our gate. So we've got our lock, as we said, we're going to look at position wise. Now, we're doing it on garden gate, so I've actually got middle rail quite high. I want to set the lock down a little bit. If not, it's going to be a high reach to get that key. But traditionally the lock will go in the centre of your middle rail without damaging too much of the tenon. That's about adding more strength. We've still got 45mm thick, so we've got enough thickness here that we can put that in and have enough support material all the way around it. It's not going to come all the way to the back, so we've looked at what we want as size. Okay. Other thing, I've got a big knot through here. I want to come down from that a little bit because that's obviously weaker grain structure where that comes out. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Our lock position, just as a quick look, I'm going to kind of say we want to be there. So we've got our length. That's just giving us a guide of, as we said, that lock plate on the back. I want a centre line now, just coming down here. So I've set up my pencil gauge so I can come down. Either end, there's a centre line scored in right up on there. So our jig, as I said, I've slackened pretty much everything off at the moment. Now I can bring it on. We've got lots of movement. Look, so our centre line, we want to line up. So I'm bringing it up to there. I could even at this stage bring a clamp in. Don't want too much pressure because I've got to move it about. But that's brought that together with the alloy plate underneath. And then we're lining up our centre line to the line we've just scored. 1, 2. Let's bring it down here. We're going to do exactly the same. On the jig now, if I just lift it up, we have a centre line on here and a scale measurement coming either side. On the centre line, we need to know for this bit. So we've said we've taken our lock, that's our width we want. I could even do it this way where we can add it 110mm. 110 is there, half 110 is 55. A centre line. Bring the jig on. So we just said our look is 110. We have therefore 55 either side. Move the other one down, 55. That's given us the length of what we want to put in. Now that's longer than what we're going to use. We've got an offset between the guide bush on the outer cutter. Built into the jig, there's that extra measurement either side of the centre line. So that's why if you did this, you go, oh, it's too big. It'll be good. We then want our lock plate. We've got 19 or 16. Next thing we're going to do, finish setting up the guide bush. So I've gone with set a guide bush. We need 16mm. Alright, that's written in the instructions, that's quite important. 16mm gives us the right offset. We need the collar, we need our outer. So now we have our length and our width that we're going to machine out. Depth of cut, we need to come from there to there, 70mm. So our depth stop on here, let's bring it right up at the moment. Let's see where we are. I might need to alter the cutter just a little bit. I've got about 72mm at the moment, so that's good. But what I haven't got is that amount of cut taken into account. So we've just lost a tiny bit coming down to 0 on the workpiece. I need to draw a bit of cutter length out in a minute. We've got 60mm at the moment, that's a start point. We can add more in a sec. So next thing I've got to do is just reset the cutter depth. So I'm coming down through the guide bush onto the timber. That's 0. We can bring our depth stop down. Let's bring it down to that one. Right, so we've lowered this. We're now going to use the lock plate as our measurement. So this is our depth we now want to work down to recess that lock into. So we've set that up, lock it off, done. So we've got the curved corners of the cutter, just got to square those up. So, and chisel. So we've got our lock, we've got our barrel movement. We can use the slot out on the back here to give us a guide. So I've drawn a pencil line, I've laid it on the top for our centre line coming down. We want to know the distance from here to the middle. Again, probably just as easy to go with my marking gauge, plot that out to the middle. From there, I can come under here, draw a line. We've got our bar length to go in, the lock for the key. So position those, measure them off the front. You've got to measure the bar. Well, that's only 8mm that way. That means when you go diagonally, up to about 11mm, 12mm. So I've got there, we've got the same to do down here. We're going to go smaller drill. In a minute, we chisel across. This one should be good enough to get our bar into. Just done our holes, got the handle hole, the key hole. Let's see if it goes. Fits in, it's quite nice. We've got our stainless steel plate to go on the top, that will sink in a bit. Get our bar, we can put that in. Right. We want to be able to twist it. Then we can go with hinge type drill. The centre drill spring loaded, gives you a nice accurate hole. That just highlights where we got the lock and our lever. So now we've got an idea where we've got to fit this. So we can use the lock jig again. The problem we've got is the fascias that we've got here don't go wide enough to take that metal plate. So we're going to take that off. That's what we want to fit. It will just fit in between there. But I know between the gap of the cutter and the guide bush, there's still not enough. So I did a little bit of a play session. So I've worked out I need actually 4mm, 3.5mm difference than what we have here. So actually I can use the side button here to offset that and give us that offset to move it forward. Alright, so we marked out our lock plate on here. So we've taken our length and our width. So I've got centre line 2 outside lines. I've used pencil marking guides just to give us a scribe line to mark that out. We know it's got to be around there, so you can mark that out. Right, so on our jig we have here, I've already set up our length with 1.5mm longer either end, which allows for the offset of the guide bush. I've then set up the back face here, so it's 1.5mm back from our pencil line inside. Found earlier, if I take a 4mm shim and put it in there, that moves us far enough forward. So that now gives me a reset point to set it onto. So we've got to do the cutout on here first. So we clamp the jig on, we know it's in place. We've got our 16mm guide bush, 1/2 inch cutter again. I want to zero that cut, so I'm going to come down to there. So we're now level with the woodwork inside. We can take our plate and check our thickness and set the depth on here. So now we're just going to go back to putting this all back together a little bit. So we put those in. We now have our lock plate bit, which is this to look at. So we've made this just about 3mm longer. Alright, make sure it's going to fit in. So that'll go into there. So that's now set. We can run our guide bush off of here. We can work off that same template we've just done. Next thing, got reset. So 0. We measure, and there we go. 22mm, 21.6, but we'll call it 22. We take our 0 up to there. We can come back. 10, 20, 1, 2. Lock it off. So we set our scale up on here. Now got this bit to do. Overhangs, we know that's going to fit in there. We've got to take that out. Got a little bit of a curve, so I want to cut it square at the moment coming off. So I've got the white mark. I've moved the fence bracket on here right over. I can use my 4mm spacer. What does that give me? How much do we come off? Possibly just enough so we can route out that line. So we've got our lock. We need to test this will fit. Now we have this curved platform around here, so we've got to soften that in. Everything else seems to fit in there apart from that curve. So I go back to one of my favourite things, Japanese rasp. Just going to take that corner off just a little bit. We've got our lock working, go there. So everything's done. I've got to go now. Bye then.